So if you've ever done any iOS or macOS programming, you've probably noticed that there's a lot of classes that start off with an NS at the beginning of them. So there's the NS object, NS string, NS array. Ever wonder what the NS actually stands for? Well, the answer to that is next step. So when Apple acquired Next, which was the the company that Steve Jobs created after he left Apple in the mid-1980s, he'd created essentially a cube-like computer. And part of the attractiveness of buying one of those systems was that there was this set of classes that you could use, object-oriented classes, for building applications very easily. And all of those classes, which are a lot of times referred to as foundation classes, all start with NS. And that's because that system was called Next Step. And that's why we have all these different classes that begin with NS. But those really apply to specific modules that you've imported in. So if you've imported in the foundation headers, this is an example, all those classes become available that start with NS. But they also include AppKit and Core Data as well. But there's also other modules that you might also wind up using. So for instance, like if you're using the AV foundation, all those classes begin with AV at the beginning of them. And the reason for that is because there's no namespaces in Objective-C or Swift for that matter. And so the convention that most engineers use when they're creating, let's say, a module you want to import in, if you want to avoid having conflicts with your classes, being mungled up with classes from another module that are being imported in, then the way to do that is to actually begin the name of your class with a couple of characters. So for instance, if you have a company that say it's called Lotus, you might use LT or LTS at the beginning of all your class names. And that's the way you can avoid having collisions with objects that share the same name. So that's why we have NS at the beginning of all those essentially Apple classes. Anyways, let me know what you think. I'll talk to you later.